Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of the World of Brickfilms podcast. I am your host, William of AW Studios. Joining me today is my good friend and co-host, Sean Willis of City Penta.
I woke up especially for this.
Yeah, because unusually we're actually recording this in the morning. But yeah, so and our special guest today is Thomas Evans of Forlorn Creature.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? I also woke up especially for this. It is currently 8:40 p.m. I mean, it's a little bit earlier than I normally wake up, but, you know, just for you guys, I'll wake up early in the evening.
Well, we appreciate the effort.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, how about those brawl results? I didn't expect number 1.
Oh, yeah, what a surprise. Hey.
Yeah, I can't believe Blood Cop finally won.
Yeah, so anybody listening, we actually recorded this, the morning before the brawl results. So, yeah, we don't actually currently know who won. But, yeah, so I really do look forward to that.
But by the time anyone's hearing this, the results will be out.
Yeah.
It's going to be TwickABrick.
Maybe.
It'll be TwickABrick. I'm calling it now.
Well, my money is on Sonjira anyway.
I think it could be... I think the top 3 are probably going to be Thistov, Sonjira, and TwickABrick. That's what I'm going to put my money on.
Well, it's interesting that we all have a different number 1. It's going to be,
All of us are wrong.
Yeah.
We're all wrong. Completely wrong.
But it just goes to show how strong of a year it was.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah.
It was a really good year. I mean, like, I don't usually pay attention to Brawl, but, like, just in general, like, these brick films are really, really good. Like, I'm used to seeing... I've entered quite through a few THACs at this point, and seeing just, like, the Brawl caliber of films is awesome. Like, because usually with, like, THAC, you have to wade through, like, a bunch of so-so kind of films, but all of the ones in Brawl were awesome.
I couldn't believe it, because, I mean... Brawl has been the same, where the quality can vary, but this year it was pretty much all, like, good. In fact, it was all good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say that actually there are a lot of brick films from this year that I'm probably gonna rewatch, like, in years to come, probably. Like, I don't usually think of that when it comes to, like, Brawl. There's usually, like, a couple, but, like, this year I feel like pretty much, like, all the top 10 ones are probably going to be ones that people are going to remember, I think.
Now, why do you think that is? Is it like, is the community getting better as a whole, like sort of learning off of each other, like a big hive mind kind of thing? Or is that kind of more like like everyone just kind of brought out their big guns because it's like, it's the 10-year anniversary of
I think
Brawl?
it might be a little bit of both, really, I think, in some ways.
Yeah, a bit of both, because I certainly believe that the standard of a newcomer is so much higher now than it was, like, 8 years ago.
Stop motion is certainly a lot more accessible than it used to be. Like, Dragon Frame is like professional grade software at like entry level price, basically, if you like compare it to like stuff like editing software like costs like $1,000 to get into, but like Dragon Frame is relatively affordable.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly quite mad that we actually live like in a time where anybody can buy these high-tech kind of like equipment things that are used in studios and stuff for relatively affordable prices. I think it's quite amazing, really. It's quite unprecedented. Yeah.
Well, even on top of that, like, you don't even need like industry standard stuff. Like, what's the animator that he just uses his iPad? He did like the shopping steel chase thing. I can't remember what it was called. Was it
Jurassic Brick Productions?
Yes. His animation is incredible.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, that's that recent one he did. I can't remember what it's called, but it's absolutely incredible animation. And I think it might be the single best use of slow motion in a brick film.
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't believe just how good it looks. Yeah,
it
was pretty immaculate.
I saw that and I was like, it made me feel bad, Like, you see some stuff and it just makes it like crushes your heart, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at that and I was thinking, oh, this it's got to be 24 FPS, right? And then I checked the comments and he says it's 15. I was like,
no.
Oh, god damn it.
No, that's 15 all the way.
Yeah. So, so you started brick filming in, was it 2009?
Yeah, 2009, 2008. I think I did I think the first thing that I would have done, I probably never uploaded to YouTube because I got like my first digital camera when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I do that thing where you take pictures and then you scroll through the thumbnails on the camera to make like a little animation. I think I did that with some like Lego Harry Potter set that I had.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first video my first username was Lego Spaceman, and I made my account and uploaded my first 2 videos, I think, in the first day that I started like properly animating. Yeah, that would have been around 2008, 2009, I think. I'm not really sure. I don't think I made Forlorn Creature until I was around like 2010 or 11.
Yeah. So, how did you sort of discover brick filming?
So I think it was, I think Forest Fire 101 and Zach MG, their Lego Star Wars brick films at the time. I guess I'm probably more of like that second generation kind of brick filmer that's sort of building just of stuff that they see on YouTube, as opposed to like, because I was never around for brickfilms.com. So I just saw the stuff that was on YouTube. And at the time when I was a kid, that was like Lego Star Wars animations. And that was what got me into it. So, I mean, I think I've sort of outgrown that a bit now. Like, I don't really, I don't think I go out of my way to like watch Lego Star Wars brick films. But like at the time, I thought they were really cool. And like I wanted to do that. So that's what I started with.
Yeah. Well, that is interesting, because I think like how, like you've got like sort of second generation where it's kind of people finding inspiration from YouTube, like finding stuff on YouTube, and then starting brick filming from that. It's kind of interesting hearing that kind of that side of it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanted to because I only just started. I listened to all of the World of Brick Films podcasts. They were very entertaining.
Thank you.
and one thing that sort of occurred to me that I'd never really thought about before was the idea of like a classical style brick film, which when we get into talking about our like picks for this week, I think it's a very distinct kind of style. I feel like, which sort of, it sort of like encapsulates that early sort of brickfilms.com style of Lego animation, which is kind of like that weird sort of like comedy, like idiosyncratic style. And I think that comes from that time sort of before we had this sort of like second generation of brick filmers.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you guys think like there is kind of like a classical like brick film kind of style?
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Yeah, like well, the ones I always think of, and mostly because of like since doing the podcast, the ones I think of are like the Letter, like Cognizance, and those kind of brick films. Yeah, the kind of the classic brickfilms.com era. Yeah, and I
basically
think,
anything shot on QuickCam 4000.
Yeah, basically.
yeah.
But like you can evoke that style even in the current era, like what William did with his Brawl entry, which is reminiscent of brickfilms.com time films.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I really wanted to, because I think like usually I've been doing like street scenes in the past and stuff, and everything it's either the latest Lego Creator set, or it's like everything's too blocky, too big, like each building. And I was like watching these earlier like brick films, and it kind of sort of dawned on me that actually they are very simplistic, these buildings, and they're all small. And actually, that looks really nice. So, and very colourful as well, like blues and reds and that kind of thing. And I've been trying to replicate that kind of look, and I feel like I want to kind of do that from now on. It's just because I feel like that sort of simplistic set design actually looks really nice.
So, what were the original Lego colours? Because I think that's also kind of influential. Because we have a lot of colours now, but it used to be, what was it? It was red, yellow, white, black, blue. Yeah,
I think so.
I think that's a big
now
part
we have
of
a lot more sort of earth tones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
earth tones
and variations of different colours as well.
Yeah,
like you got cream and olive green, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's really changed the look of not only brick films but also Lego builds in general, of course.
Yeah, tan, pink, purple, green.
But so who would you say are your kind of like biggest inspirations then for like starting brick filming?
I mean, like, I think inspirations now would be very different to ones when I started, because when I started, it was Forest Fire 101, it was Zach MG, it was, I think I made a made a little list of things. Keshin 8 was also big back then. I love the stuff that Filmy Guy was doing as well, Sean Willits. And it's funny because a lot of some of these people are working for like Stupid Buddy Studios now. Like I think Filmy Guy is working like in the stop motion industry now, which is really cool.
Yeah, he works on Robot Chicken now.
Yeah, that's awesome to me. But I think it was one of your past episodes. They mentioned Fancy Pants was a big sort of turning point for them. And I think that was a big turning point for me, was that video that he put out about the ease in, ease out and running. I think if in my sort of development in like how I learned stop motion animation, the two big things would be the Fancy Pants video about ease in, ease out, and buying Dragon Frame and getting onion skinning were the two biggest changes in how I animated things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Fancy Pants video has got to be like a landmark moment in technique coming to brick filming.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Yeah.
what's the word? I can't think of it now. Principle. Animation principles.
Yeah.
I think again, I when I was sort of trying to improve in animation, lots of people, I think a couple of people recommended like Fancy Pants videos, and I think he made some of the kind of most helpful tutorials when it comes to brick filming. Definitely some really good ones. I think that one of the ones that was really useful was his video about masking. He made in like 2010 or something. Yeah, that was a really good one. So yeah, he made a lot of really good tutorials, which I feel like that. You know, you don't see that much of, actually, all things considered. Like, there aren't a lot of brick filmers who are making tutorials. I feel like that would be quite a good thing to see more of, yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's so many tutorials for, like, walk cycles. Like, if you look up how to do... And there's a lot of tutorials on, like, how to get started brick filming, you know, like really basic, like, how to do stop motion kind of stuff. But it's, like, it's all those like, slightly more advanced, like, intermediate things that there isn't much for, like... You know, like masking, ease in, ease out, basic VFX stuff like green screen, how to light a green screen with Lego, how to deal with that sort of stuff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
there really isn't a whole lot of that sort of stuff.
A lot of people start with, you know, I'll make a tutorial. You're going to need a camera and take a bunch of pictures.
Yeah.
But they don't really get much further than that. And obviously that stuff is necessary for when you're just beginning. But yeah, it's nicer to get the more advanced techniques.
Yeah. I've been thinking about doing some more tutorial sort of things because
I'd like to see that because I learned from you at some point. I don't know if it was a video or if it was just on stream or something, but you had an animation of jumping and you went through it like, you know, with each frame, and I learned a lot from how far you moved everything between the frames.
No, I think I did a tutorial video on that a while ago. But yeah, that was more of like an exaggerated kind of cartoony style, which I think is something I've been leaning towards lately, but I think I kind of want to pull back from that a bit at some point.
That's why I learned from it. It's like, you know, if you want to make something more cartoony, then you know,
well,
that's good principles.
That's something that I think it was Chris Boyer. He was on your podcast in one of the earlier episodes. He was talking a lot about that, like just making things like just like snap in one frame. Just like sometimes you just need to do that, and I think that's really good advice for like when you are going for that snappy kind of cartoon style.
Yeah, well, because you need to know, like, there were times when you should use easing in and out, and sometimes when you just shouldn't. And that's kind of an important thing to learn, because I think when people start out, when they start learning about the animation principles, they start to sort of think that easing in and easing out is like the one thing that you have to focus on all the time. Yeah. And that leads to everything looking very too smooth, everything's very slow. Yeah. And then you got to kind of realize that sometimes it's good to have like that kind of like very sudden, sporadic kind of movements, you know.
Well, something that I found is I've started looking a lot outside of brick filming for like animation knowledge and learning. And like one thing that I really like is like anime limited animation. So there's if you ever look up something called sakuga, which is like, are you guys familiar with the term sakuga?
No.
So in anime, like most of the time, anime is very like I guess you'd say like cheap animation, you know, like 8 frames a second or whatever. Just kind of like churn it out, you know, shot, reverse shot. Mostly like pretty what's the word, like homogenic or whatever. But occasionally they just have these action scenes or like really important scenes, and they'll just give it to one key animator, and they'll be like, here's 2 or 3 minutes of screen time, you just take this and run with it. And that's called sakuga. Is when like these guys just get to spend a bunch of time just making like a cool action scene. You know, like for example, like the opening of like the Pokemon theme song or something, you consider that sakuga because it's like it's all Japanese animation, but on ones instead of on 2s or 3s. So it's all full animation, like just go for it, kind of like really good animations. So like you get these. There's a lot of compilations on YouTube of sakuga, and I think there's a lot to learn about just like really stylistic animation from that sort of stuff. If you ever want to like want inspiration for like what's like some really cool animation.
Yeah.
I was curious about where you got a primary influence for animation from, because I was looking at the feud of Brick Hill again, and I think that it's an accomplishment in character animation and brick filming, and I was thinking the primary influence has to be outside of brick filming for this.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question about that. I heard someone mention that you animated it in 12.5 frames per second. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, that's correct. So because that was when I was in film school, and in film school, everything that we did, because I live in Australia, I'm in I think it's a PAL zone, so we have everything at 50 hertz, which means that instead of 24 FPS, all of our films are actually changed to 25 FPS for broadcast. So everything that we film, or everything that's broadcast, is actually in 25 FPS. So I was like, I wanted to get used to doing animations at 25 FPS. So, you know, in case like I wanted to do something that eventually got, you know, like projected on a screen or something like that. So yeah, I was doing 25 FPS on 2s, which turns out to 12.5 FPS. And every now and then in TwickABrick Hill, I'd flip over to full on 1s animation, which is 25 FPS instead of 12.5. So yeah, it was a mix of 2. But for the most part, it's 12.5. But that's why, it's because we live in I live in Australia.
That's interesting, actually. Yeah, because I have heard in like before that different countries and stuff have different like frame rates for
standard frame rates.
Yeah. So yeah, the 2 main ones are PAL and NTSC. NTSC I think is the 60 hertz one, so that's where you get 23.976 and 30 FPS from, which is probably what most of your TV is. Yeah, I'm not sure what the standard in the UK would be though.
It's PAL.
Well,
We're all PAL here.
Well, there you go. You're probably the same as us, I think. Anyway, this does not make for interesting podcast material.
Well, actually, going back to the what you're talking about, the anime thing, I find that really interesting. So basically, you're saying that you'd have like an animator who would specialize in just the action and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's interesting, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what most sakuga kind of ends up being, is just like action stuff, like action, like just like cool, like building up power, like big punches, sword fights, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, like I don't think I'm like a huge anime fan. Like I haven't seen a lot of anime, but like I'm trying to watch some of the better ones. So I started with Cowboy Bebop. I've been watching Samurai Champloo lately, which is very good. And then there's also, I went and watched Robotech as well, just because I thought that was cool. And then there's a few other random things like Evangelion and like, yeah, like just trying to like sort of broaden my palette in terms of what sort of animation and films that I'm looking at. Have you guys heard of the Animator's Survival Kit?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The Richard Williams book, it is fantastic. Like I like, if you want to take it a step up from like, because there's that Disney one, which is The Illusion of Life, which is good, but I feel like if you want like practical lead by example animation learning stuff, Animator's Survival Kit is like the best book for animation.
I think I should pick it up. I mean, I've heard about it for, over a decade by now.
Yeah.
It always comes up, but I've never read it.
I'm sure you can pirate a PDF of it, or if you really... There's also a lecture series, which is like $900 for the DVDs. If you're feeling adventurous, you can probably find some torrent for that, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge,
But as far as anime goes, I'd recommend watching feature films.
Yes, yeah, the Studio Ghibli stuff is really good, and Akira is fantastic.
Yeah, Akira. And there's less filler, of course.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned Akira because I really need to sort of broaden my kind of like what I really watch, because I don't think I've really watched that much of like anime and stuff. But when I was going through like clips and stuff to put in the podcast for Chris Boyer, because he mentioned Akira, and I was watching through clips of like these films like Akira, and I was really amazed by just how great the animation was. It looks so kind of fluid and vibrant and really kind of fun to watch. I definitely want to watch Akira. Yeah.
Akira is fantastic. I saw it in the cinema last year.
It's a mistake to just categorize it as anime. I think anyone who's interested in animation or science fiction should watch Akira.
Yeah. I've talked a lot with friends about this movie, and I feel like the first third of Akira is fantastic. It's when they're on the bikes. It's the whole like Neo Tokyo sort of stuff that's going on. The neon lights like flashing through. It looks really cool. I reckon that the last 2/3 of that film as a film is a bit less coherent. It's still got some amazing bits and pieces, but yeah, because I think they were talking about like Christopher Nolan doing a remake of that film as like a trilogy or something. The first film would be awesome if it was just like the bike gang stuff.
Yeah. So, when we were talking last night on the Discord, you mentioned that one of the brick filmers that really inspired you was Namechild, and especially the Through the Hatch, brick film.
Yeah. So, before I found out sort of the theme for our showcase segment, the film that I wanted to talk about was Through the Hatch, which is have you guys seen Through the Hatch?
Yeah, I love Through the Hatch.
Yeah,
and I'm glad you brought it up, because even if it's not part of the showcase segment, we can still discuss it now.
Yeah. Well, when you said that, I really wanted to sort of to talk a little bit about this. So yeah.
Yeah. So Through the Hatch is, how do we describe Through the Hatch? It's a chase film set in this guy's attic, and it's sort of like the police and the criminals, but it's a story of escalation. So the police start on the criminals like pull out some big guns, and then the police like up their ante, and eventually it ends up like it's like a bionicle mech with a minifig in it going up against like a helicopter. It's really cool. But yeah, like I think I said this to you, is like the thing that sort of blew my mind at the time with this film when I was a lot younger was like just the scale of this film. He was just doing things that, like, I'd think to myself now, like, that you wouldn't want to do some of this stuff because it's just too big. Like, the scale of this chase, like, he's got this bionicle like hopping around between pillars, and like he's got like actual explosions in the film, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
The way he approached visual effects is amazing, and still pretty much unrivaled. The way he made all the explosions himself.
Yeah, it's all pretty much in camera. Like, I think even because he had a follow-up film called Down the Hatch, which looked amazing. I still come back to the trailer every now and then, even though he's probably never going to finish it.
Doesn't seem that way. Yeah,
but like one of the things he said was that all the effects are in camera and it looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I when I was like, I remember, I think wasn't it a it was
Brickfilm
in
of the Week.
Yeah, Brickfilm of the Week, because that's how I discovered it actually, and I was really impressed with just how the sheer scale of it and how he was able to have this, animate all these things in the attic and stuff, and the lighting was good. There wasn't much light flicker and all that kind of stuff. Just those sort of things just really impressed me. I just don't know how he did it.
Yeah, I'm impressed by the consistency of the lighting as well, and also in Down the Hatch when some of the shots are outside and the lighting isn't flickering.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of like I don't know how you describe it. It's almost like that innocence in film where it's like it doesn't seem to be affected by the idea of like other brick films. It's just kind of like a film that's made with Lego. Like it reminds me a bit of like the Magic Portal in that sense. Like
yeah, I know what you mean.
I was just going to say
a
that.
lot of the biggest standouts are by people who aren't so heavily involved in the community.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like in a way that the segment of the Magic Portal where they're like, they're driving around in the shoe and stuff.
Yeah.
That is kind of reminds me a lot of this one. Yeah. Like this feels like a more like, a more expanded, more like realized version of that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's also like got I think you use like kids' voices for the characters as well. I think there's an element of that in the Magic Portal as well, like the characters not being so articulate or mature themselves, I guess.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
I'm guessing that was also an influence on the feud of Brick Hill, similar to the Magic Portal voices.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things. Well, I think it's also it was that, and I really love classic space. Even though I wasn't around for it, I still feel like I feel a lot of nostalgia for classic space. Like, I think something I'd still like to go back and do eventually is almost do an animation in the style of one of those old animated commercials that they had for like Futuron and the original classic space series.
Yeah, some of those trailers are absolutely incredible. The amount of like the animation stuff is just unheard of. At the time.
Yeah, well, there's some
really amazing.
There's some stuff in there that like when they did those brick built characters for some of those old commercials back when like Zack the Lego Maniac was a thing. Like that was Aardman doing stuff for them, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that would make sense because it's really incredible animation. But yeah, I feel like in a way it would be really interesting. I thought about this in the past, like making a brick film where you're having to, like, say for example, it was like you had all the equipment from 2001 when that brickfilms.com community started, and you have to use the old software, you've got to use the old camera, and all the Lego has to be from 2001 and before. I'd love to see someone try and do that. It'd be really interesting.
That's something I've actually toyed around with doing before, is like actually pulling out like my old like digital like point and shoot camera that I used to use for animation, and Windows Movie Maker. Do you guys do that trick in Windows Movie Maker where you drop the clips down and then you put the double time speed onto them so it speeds up to 16 frames per second?
Yeah.
That's the reason why I still use 16 to this day.
It's so weird.
It is. I really should give that up, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, but I think it'd be interesting to see, because then you could really, I guess, sort of like measure how much you've actually learned about the process and about the craft of it, I guess.
Yeah.
By just like stripping away like all of the extra rubbish that we sort of have now.
Yeah. Well, actually, because I've often thought about this idea for like a brick film where it's kind of like movies through the years, and it's kind of like they're going from like the set from one film to the other. You could almost do actually a film where it's like you start off in the 80s with all the limited equipment. You've got like, it's on like film, and then you sort of move over then to the 90s, and then it's like brickfilms.com, and then it's, and then it starts going into like 2005 where the picture's a little bit better, and then it goes into eventually to like modern day. That would be quite interesting.
And everything's rendered CG.
Yeah.
This is a film. There's a film. I think it was called. Are you guys familiar with Mr. Bad Frame? I think it was an entry to, was it the Avant Garde contest?
That's right.
Oh, okay, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and it's about like this guy. I think he's animated at 3 FPS. And everyone else in the world is animated at 15 FPS. I always thought that was such a cool idea. Like, I don't know, maybe you could do something like that as well, where it's where there are all these different characters that exist in a world, but they all have their own style.
That actually would be really funny.
Yeah.
Like, you have the brickfilms.com era guy who just raises his arm and twists his hand around, and then you've got a current day guy who's zipping around the place, like, over animated.
Yeah, the brickfilms.com guy, his hands are upside down for some reason.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when I was making my Brawl film, there wasn't many like piano playing brick films where I could reference from, and I asked like Penta, do you know any? And you showed me this like one of these early brick films where it was literally just raising the arm up and down, and that was him playing the piano.
Yeah, there was no timing to it whatsoever.
You've broken the code. That's how I do it.
But it would be a funny idea for a film if everyone is like to a different era, and like if the brickfilms.com era guy starts talking and he spins his hand all the way around, everyone else is horrified that they're like, oh my god, you just broke your wrist, and he's like, what? I'm fine.
Just like add in all of the crunching noises as his joints break.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
And also sound like with the poor audio quality as well.
Yeah,
the walking sound. He's walking around and everyone's like, what is that noise?
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun, actually, yeah.
It would be so obscure, though. Nobody would understand what's going on.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, like, that's something I've been thinking about as well a lot lately, is like brick films as something that is both accessible and like super niche as well, because like I think like listening to your podcast made me appreciate brick filming a lot more than I did before. Like we were talking about the idea of like a classic brick film, like actually looking at brick films as if they were like an actual art form, which I think is something that you can do, but it's something that there's so much barrier of entry for like your regular Joe sort of person to come into, because it's Lego, it's like a kid's toy, but you can tell like interesting stories with it.
Yeah.
And for the longest time it was incredibly hard to ever observe what the history was and the important films of years gone by, but luckily I kind of feel like I can take some responsibility for improving that in recent years.
Yeah definitely. It's made such a difference. Like even like trying to find the old like Brawl and Thack results.
Yeah,
like
you can take it for granted now, and it used to be an ordeal.
Yeah, they're having to go through the old threads and stuff, from years ago in the forums, and now you just don't have to. It's makes such a difference.
So maybe it could be the beginning of an era where people can, think about brick filming as a full timeline.
Yeah, well, I definitely do think of it. I regard it in the same way as watching classic movies throughout the years. It's like you've got these old like silent era movies, and then you've got the start of the sound and that kind of stuff, and I feel like the history and the progression in movies is parallels in many ways what brick filmers ended up doing, and I think I think all these
stylistically it's pretty comparable there. I guess like where are we now? Are we in like the 70s? Are we in like the 80s? Or are you in like the dystopian future where like all the films are the same?
Yeah.
And nothing new is ever made. It's all just remakes.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of feel like we're in the present day where people have gotten over the obsession with CG.
Yeah. And people are taking influence from older stuff again. Kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah. It's we do have kind of like a big palette of films that are being made. I don't know if it's like, I don't know. What do you reckon was like the golden age of brick filming? Because I think we're definitely past it by now.
I'd say like 2003 to 2009.
2009.
Yeah.
But I think we're currently in a golden age of animation brick filming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you could almost consider this like a revival, almost. I don't know, maybe.
I just think that people are actually paying attention to the animation so much more nowadays.
Yeah.
And not so much on like with like a real sort of like critical eye for it, as opposed to like, hey, that's just really smooth. But it's like there's actually, we can kind of get a lot more character into it now because we have the tools for it, and like most of the community at this point, we have enough people that are knowledgeable enough to be able to make the distinction between like what is like good sort of characterful animation as opposed to just like smooth animation.
It's true, yeah. I mean, years ago, the only compliment people ever gave to animation was it's smooth.
Yeah.
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 But like, one of the things I kind of feel as well is that in the past like year or so, my outlook on, you know, just the Brickfilm community in general has changed so much, because there were definitely times, especially like in like early 2017, where I really did feel like I was losing interest, because I felt like the community wasn't there as much, and I felt like, I don't know, there wasn't like the like, I felt like the best days had gone. But something happened. I don't know what happened. I think maybe just being more involved in the community and doing this podcast and all that kind of stuff has really changed just how I feel about brick filming and the brick filming community. And I've never felt so much more like just into and invested as I do now, I think. Just like, I feel like every week there's a new brick film to talk about, which is worth, you know, people, you know, it's worth watching. And yeah, I just feel like we were actually in a pretty good place now.
I had a theory about that. I'm not sure if I mentioned it on the podcast already, but I think that the changing of the YouTube algorithms has actually improved the community, because, you know, people can't really get views on Brickfilms all that much anymore. And I think that in the past, people could sort of just exist in their own microcosm, and they had their own fans, and they were happy with that. But nowadays, now the people aren't really, they don't really have, you know, they're not YouTubers anymore, because there's just not the same views and subscribers just aren't there. They have to be involved, and they have to enter contests and host contests and do things like that, you know, community events, if they want to feel like they're getting something out of brick filming.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're doing like sort of like quantity or over quality, like kids animation sort of stuff. Like there's a few channels doing that right now. There's definitely like not a big chance of you sort of being able to break into the YouTube community, because like, yeah, YouTube just does not support that kind of content anymore. They support stuff that is either like really long videos, or videos that just like come out all the time, which, yeah, I guess that's just like, it's kind of inevitable that it's got to go that way.
Yeah. But I think that, yeah, everything has its ups and downs, and I think that there has been a bit of a positive influence on the community.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you've noticed that there's been a lot of contests this year, especially.
Well, again,
Yeah.
I feel like as well, like, you know, the amount of average views I get, like, for each brick film I make is, it used to be like quite often like 1,000 or something like that, but now it's quite often like 200. But I feel like there's more. I feel more like a more accomplishment by making something that gets 200 views and gets, like, you know, double the amount of comments, double the amount of talk and discussion. I'd rather have people talking about my brick film that's got like 200 views than have like a brick film that has 1,000 views and no one talks about it, you know.
Yeah, well, it's like I don't even look at views anymore. Like, it's just, I know that I'm not going to make any substantial amount of money off of ad revenue or anything, so what's the point of looking at views? Like, it's really about sort of the interaction and talking to people. And just to sort of go on a tangent here, like, it's crazy. There are people that are making Lego animations. There are whole communities that don't know what bricks in motion is. Like, apparently there's a whole like Instagram community of Lego stop motion that I didn't know about. And then there's also, I guess we know about the Plastic Fist, or that they call the Plastic Films now, I think.
Yeah.
And there's like whole communities of like younger brick filmers that are just completely separate to bricks in motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, it's especially bizarre to me because at the time that I joined, like, brickfilming was brickfilms.com. There was just no potential for anything else going on at the same time.
I think YouTube has definitely changed that, because it's not like it's not like everything is in one place. Whenever anyone talks about, whenever anyone like asks like why was it that brickfilms.com seemed to be like the golden age and stuff, and I can often say, well, basically it's because everybody knew each other. Everybody was influenced from each other. So it meant that you had lots of like-minded people who all knew each other, and it meant that there were lots of different creative films being made because it's all these influences. Whereas now, you know, it could literally just be, I know this guy on YouTube, and I want to do stuff like him.
Yeah, and because that's how I started out. For the longest time, I thought of bricks in motion as like the only thing going on in brick filming. So it took me a very, very long time to start to realize that there was actually other entire communities out there.
Yeah. And you know, the funny thing is, like, I may have said this before, but like, you know, in the past, I used to make a lot of music video recreations in Lego, and that used to be the things that get like, you know, thousands of views, and even now they're still getting loads of views. And you know, I used to sort of think, if I make one of these every time, like in between making a more serious project, that would mean that I'll help my channel grow and that kind of stuff. But I kind of realized that people don't really come back to your channel if you make something different. It's only if I continued making those music videos things, that's the only way that my channel would grow like that. Because I couldn't have sort of think, oh yeah, I'll make this and then I'll make, you know, another thing, because the other stuff will still get like the same amount of views it would anyway. So in the end, I kind of just feel like it's not worth kind of doing something that you're losing passion for.
Yeah, you could, you know, remake the Star Wars Force Awakens trailer within 10 hours of it coming out and make like a dodgy animation, but it gets like 6 million views because it's the first one to do it.
Yeah.
But you know, like, you're, for one thing, like, that's not going to be creatively satisfying, and also it's not going to be, I think there's something to be said for like creative integrity. Like I'm seeing a lot of, I think I said before, like, YouTube's not really supporting stuff like animations so much, but you can build an audience by being, there are some people who are making really good animations or like really good content that isn't necessarily good for YouTube, but it still builds an audience, and they have creative integrity and like sort of like control over what they're doing, and they're making something that is like genuinely good, and then they go to Patreon and they get money from Patreon for that. So like there's like, I don't think that'd necessarily work for brick filming because we don't have so much of a reach with this kind of medium.
Yeah, and most of the fans are younger.
Yeah.
yeah, that too. Because I think people have said that to me before, like, you know, like, you should start a Patreon, and it's like, I'm pretty sure like my audience for something like Lego Minecraft Creepers is not going to have expendable income to spend on Patreon.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it before where those Lego animators who are of a similar channel size to you, and they start a Patreon. It's like 3 patrons, you know, $7 per video.
Like that. Yeah. You can't do Patreon without already having the existing audience for it. Yeah,
wasn't it
money.
Fancy Pants that did this huge live stream? And
he did. Yeah, he did a Kickstarter for his clone training center video, and I don't think that quite went through. And that was he wanted to make a series, and again, that was probably just a case of not necessarily that he didn't have the numbers, but it was probably just not quite the right demographic for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was asking for 40,000, and I believe 5,000 was pledged, but of course he got nothing because it didn't meet the goal.
Yeah.
So it's like, if he had that knowledge that 5,000 could actually come in, you know, he could have started it with a goal of 5,000 and actually gotten that much towards making the series.
Yeah, but then it's like you get stuck in a hard place where it's like it's not quite enough money to, like, you know, take time off work to do it.
That's true. It run out very fast.
Yeah. So what you do is you make brick films. You know, you get your audience of people who are 12 years old. Wait 10 years until they all have expendable income, and then you just milk them dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, but by that point, your views have dropped off by about 90%.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, that too.
So whatever happens, you're gonna get 3 patrons.
Yeah,
basically, if you wanna do brick films and make money, you're screwed.
Yes.
So don't do it.
Basically, just don't even consider it.
Yeah, that'd be a good tutorial, wouldn't it? How to make money.
How to make money brick filming. Don't. The end. Forlorn's first tutorial.
Again, unless you're doing like kids animations.
Yeah.
But so one of the questions I want to ask you is what is your like step-by-step process
for like making a Lego animation? So I mean, this again is a thing that's I'm sort of like is changing all the time. But generally it'll be say for something that I need to get done quick, like a Thack or a Brawl entry, it goes from idea to chicken straps storyboard to just animating it. So yeah, like my Brawl entry was, because I was working, I had to spend like 3 or 4 ideas just working on the idea. But once that was solid, yeah, like chicken scratch storyboard, animate every shot of that I need, and then drop it into a timeline so it all sort of comes together. And if I need an extra shot, I can animate it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's kind of like, but I mean, like for something more long form, like creepers. I mean, I haven't really done that in a while, but that would include a script before the storyboard as well. But yeah, I think one thing I've discovered since making creepers is that I think I really suck at writing. And that's something I want to tackle for like the next thing that I do. Is like I can't watch creepers anymore because like I don't think it's very good writing, in terms of like just the dialogue and the characters. But
really, I thought that creepers was really good because of the characters.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I think I'm pretty happy with the underlying themes and like sort of the gist of it, but I think there's a lot of stuff that for me falls flat or like just makes me kind of cringe now that like I would like to have another go at doing that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Creepers season 2.
Yeah, I don't know
Let's
if
see
I'll
it.
do it. I've been tossing up with that for like a year and a half now, like whether I'm actually going to do it or not.
I've actually I was wondering, like, how...
Yeah.
By the time you're making Creepers, how into Minecraft were you still?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm so over Minecraft at this point. Like, I feel like as a game, I'm just not interested in it. I think when I made Creepers, I was sort of like still kind of interested in it, but like I wasn't really playing it regularly or anything. But I mean now, like I'll try to play it again, but the game is just so different to what it used to be. I think it's a lot more bloated and has lost a lot of its charm, especially since Microsoft bought it out.
Yeah, it's very hard to go back to a game that's being constantly updated once it becomes unrecognizable to you.
Yeah. Like it's just not the same charm. But the I guess the flip side is, like when I made Lego Minecraft Creepers, I wasn't trying to make it sort of, I wanted to make it sort of neutral to what Minecraft was, like just use it as a medium or like as a sandbox, you know, like you'd use like fantasy as a sandbox, you know, like with the with like orcs and trolls and elves and stuff.
Yeah.
Except, you know, I'm just using Minecraft.
Yeah.
Like, that was the impression that I got, because, I mean, I guess before that, you had kind of built your YouTube presence on Minecraft between with the Adventures of Minecraft series and the previous Minecraft series before that. So it seemed like by the time you were making Creepers, you weren't really interested in just making Minecraft films, but still connected it. You know,
Yeah,
It's kind of funny because
for that reason.
I've never actually played like Minecraft. I'm not like a serious gamer. I only like play games like once every few months. But
yeah, I don't play games that much anymore, like Overwatch, I guess.
But like it's a case of like things like that Minecraft Creepers. There's definitely inspiration from like other things. So I don't feel like it's inaccessible to anyone who doesn't play it. Like I watch it, and it's like I don't feel like I'm missing anything. Like as in like I can understand fully what's going on, and it works really well on its own. So yeah, I think
that's the way it comes across. It's its own thing. It just so happens to be Minecraft.
Yeah, so anybody can enjoy it really, even someone who hasn't played the games. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a rip-off of the second Planet of the Apes film, but in Minecraft.
But yeah, actually, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and you sort of mentioned it briefly, are there any, when you look back at like your older films, are there any that you kind of think, I like the story, but I wish that I had done other things, and is there anything that you'd like to sort of like remake, possibly?
I don't know. I think I'm kind of at a stage where like I think I want to like grow up a bit more in terms of the stuff that I'm making. But I think like when I look back, I'm still really happy with some of the stuff that I did for the Adventures of Lego Minecraft series. I feel like that was overall a lot more emotionally effective than Creepers was. Just because of the simplicity of it, I guess, and it's not weighed down by the baggage of dialogue or like kind of cliche writing or anything like that. It's just like imagery and like music that inspired me, and like just a younger person that like doesn't care, about like doing something that's silly. So yeah, I don't know if I'd necessarily want to remake anything, but I think in terms of like what I think was most effective, I think was that Adventures of Lego Minecraft series, especially around like the 5th part of that.
Well, it's kind of funny because I've always been toying around the idea of like remaking my first ever like brick films I made, because I did a series that's like a fantasy series, and I actually really like this. I feel really happy with the story, but there's so much that like the animation and just like the dialogue and everything. I feel like I could make it a much better film if I did it now. But at the same time, I kind of just think there's so many things I want to make that...
Yeah, you might as well make something new.
Yeah.
I feel similar. So one thing that I've kind of been wanting to do is like... I feel like the Lego Star Wars battle sequence is kind of like a subgenre of its own. And I feel like there's so many films that it frustrates me to watch them, because it's kind of like, what your younger brick filmer who's like a fan of Star Wars will do. It's like doing the Gareth Pugh film of like the clone troopers stand around a table, they do their briefing, and then they drop in, and then there's like a big battle. Like you'll have some droids and some clone troopers on one side, and they kind of like flop over after they've been shooting for a while. Like I want to do like an amped up version of that at some point. Do like the Saving Private Ryan of Lego Star Wars battle animations.
That would be cool, actually. Yeah.
I just don't know if I can. Yeah, like really sort of like take that as if it were like a genre, and then sort of just like amp it up to something that sort of like is jaw dropping. But I don't know if I could be bothered.
I do like the idea though of having like a Star Wars film that is literally a war film. It
would be kind of funny if it was a tad tongue-in-cheek and you just made it as overly dramatic as possible.
As
if it's 100% serious, like as if it's like historical drama, but except it's stormtroopers. Like there was one shot in Creepers where like I had one of the characters eating a carrot, and I actually took a piece of Lego carrot and I chopped it in half, and there were so many comments like, "Oh my god, you actually did you actually break that piece of carrot?" And it's like, I wonder what it would be like if I made a really violent Lego Star Wars brick film that was just like almost excessively, I guess you'd call it gory, but with Lego figures. Yeah.
I guess they've already done that sort of stuff, like Captain America 3, Nazi zombies, was pretty violent, but I guess that sort of thing, but with Star Wars figures.
But we were talking about Through the Hatch earlier, and had you ever seen Namechild's other film called The Duel?
Yes, yeah. They chop figures in half in that, don't they?
Yeah, that's basically what you're describing, where it's like the whole film is based around, what if we just destroyed all of these figures?
What's your guys' what's your opinion on sort of mangling Lego figures for the sake of brick films? Like, do you think that's okay, or like, are you just against it?
I've always been of the opinion that you should just do it if that's what you want for your film.
Well, like, you mean like destroying Lego and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of... Yeah, I feel like in some cases it can be quite effective, but it's one of those kind of things where I probably wouldn't want to do it myself, just because I just don't like the idea of never using that figure again, kind of thing. But I did it. I actually have done it with one thing. I haven't actually shot the scene yet, but I have loads and loads of handcuffs. Because you end up, if you buy lots of Lego sets, you end up with so many handcuff pieces. So I thought, I might as well just do this. So what I'm going to do is it's going to be a scene where someone breaks their handcuffs, and basically I just got some scissors and cut it in half in the middle, and so I'm gonna have this shot there where I just replace it with these like broken ones and just go like snap, it's gonna break.
Yeah, that was what inspired me. Like, I think the only times that I've ever damaged Lego, it was with the intention of trying to like bait some shocked comments on YouTube, which I really liked doing that years ago. So at one point I had most of the Indiana Jones sets, and so I had all of these identical indie figures, and I was like, well, I might as well just destroy one of these and see what the comments say. It'll be funny. And then another time I just had a bunch of police figures as well, so I thought, I'll just cut one of these in half with a hot knife, and it'll just make for a nice shocking visual, and hopefully get some people commenting.
I think I've got a melted Lego figure somewhere that I got from a friend. There's do you know that Mob Deli video where like he just left one of his lamps on a couple of his Lego figures, and it's just a time lapse of them turning into sludge?
Yeah.
Did you use that in was it Minecraft Diamonds?
Oh,
that guy
man.
who's on fire and his legs are all burnt.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I did.
I once saw a video on YouTube that was see how much beating a Lego minifigure could take, and he literally was like stepping on it at first, and he was like, you know, hitting it with a hammer, and then eventually it just became like this melted like goo.
Is that like the Lego equivalent of like a snuff film? r/watch Lego die.
Lego's surprisingly strong, though.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you compare it to like the whip-off Lego.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But actually another thing I was thinking about, actually, kind of sort of related to that kind of remaking things. So the last episode we did was we talked about culmination in the showcase, and that for years that had, wasn't it? Was it like lost or something? Because the guy who uploaded it actually deleted it from his YouTube channel. So it meant that, but I think was it Bertel or someone like that. They saved a copy on the hard drive.
Yeah, Bertel had saved the Bricks in Motion directory as the films were being added to it for about the first like 1,400 films. So it's obviously an amazing resource for Brickfilm history.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, get that guy's hard drive.
I did, yeah.
But like, so basically, one of the things I was sort of wondering is like, can you remember any like Brickfilms like personally that you saw that like no longer like exist, or you know, are considered pretty much missing?
I don't know. I feel like if I went back to find them, I wouldn't remember which ones they were.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a difficult question. Like, I don't know if I've come across the situation where like I just really want to see this one Lego brick film that I remember, but I can't find it.
Yeah, well, I
trying to think.
Because there was.
Well,
yeah.
I've had that situation happen many times, but in most cases I have gone and tracked them down eventually. Sometimes by, you know, contacting the original creator. But one I do remember that's still missing is actually one of the winners of TAC 5, which is called Leo, and it was third place. And it's kind of bizarre to remember the film and exactly how the voices sound and how some of the shots were and the plot and all this, but it's just completely missing.
Well, I mean, for me, that experience is quite a recent one. It was the in the 2015 Dollars and Light contest. I think it was the 9th place winner, was it? It was
7th, I think.
Yeah, and it was about, was it Flight of the Moth or something?
Dark Flight of the Moth,
yeah. So that is missing, and I just found that kind of really sort of weird.
Yeah, and it was a really good entry too.
Yeah, it was actually. I know that
it's pretty novel.
I know that Philip Heinrich liked it a lot because I told him actually recently, and he was like, "No."
It wasn't a minifigure based film.
No, it was basically about, wasn't it, this like moth? And it was flying around, and like all these tragic things were happening.
And it was mostly in silhouette.
Yeah,
it looked really good.
Yeah, it was it went well with the sort of film noir theme that the contest had, actually. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a shame.
Yeah, that's definitely a shame to hear that, because I remember that being a pretty good one. But it just seems really strange, especially when you consider that's in recent years and something that I remember, because I've not been brickfilming for that long, so to know a brick film that's missing just seems really strange. But yeah.
That's the thing, though. In brick filming, you never know when something's going to go missing. It could be only a few months after it's released.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a case, isn't there? Like, I think this year that someone uploaded something, and they literally had it on their YouTube channel for about 5 hours. And
One day,
yeah.
It was Cooper's newest video.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? I like Kuba's.
It was Pacific Brick, which
Oh,
is a
yeah.
Pacific Rim Brick film that he was working on for a long time, I believe. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as I remember, he had it in like end cards on YouTube as coming soon for ages.
Yeah.
And he released it. It was up for a day, and then it was gone. And I don't know why.
I didn't note it because I think I watched that one when it came out. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was gone. Oh, well, there you go. Let me look it up right now, and I'll have that moment right now. Kuba's Pacific Brick.
I watched it as well the day it came out, and then it was gone the next day. And I was like, why didn't I download it? But you don't expect something to disappear after that
Why
little
can't I
amount of
find
time.
it? It's not here. I can't find it. Where is
Yeah.
this? Oh, I feel so disappointed.
It's pretty
Damn
mysterious.
Yeah. So, but so before we go on to the showcase, is there anything that you'd like to ask, Punter?
Well, I guess I just want to add, maybe the Four Monkeys will hear this and they can ask Coopers why the film's gone. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
I think that's all.
Right. Yeah. So, should we head over to the showcase?
Yeah.
So go
Yeah,
on.
sure. Okay, so my pick is Photographic Developments, which is a 2014 film by Sonjira. So, last night I watched the entire Brawl 2014 playlist to choose a pick for the showcase. And there were a couple I was sort of considering picking, and I eventually chose this one. So, yeah, it's about these two detectives, one called Spurlock Homely, and one called Hodson. And they're trying to sort of like solve this kind of like murder mystery. And and if any of you are familiar with Sonjira's work, it's it's very wacky, it's really like insane and sort of downright like hilarious. And yeah, I just feel like everything that I've seen of his is very like consistently funny, and especially like his brawl entries. I really am a big fan of his stuff, and yeah, like his thing he did like his entry this year, Head Loose. I really hope that does well in the in Brawl this year, because it's I think it might be his best one yet. But yeah,
I thought that was one of the funniest entries for Brawl.
yeah. But I honestly kind of think with Sonjira that in recent years he's made easily some of the funniest brick films, like in recent memory. I think it's just some really funny films. Yeah. So yeah,
So
yeah. Sorry.
yeah, well, I was talking about like classical brick films, and I feel like any frame from this, almost any frame, is kind of like what I'd consider maybe like the classical kind of like brick film look. I don't know what it is about it, like whether it's like the size of the camera or the way, I think it might be the way that the set is built, but there's something about it that's kind of like, it's got that kind of like charming kind of brick filmy style to it.
Yeah, actually, it is true. I didn't think about that, but it does have a nice kind of visual style, and I think some of the stuff, like I think they use like putty later on in the film, that kind of stuff just feels like an old brick film. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? There's something about like a subgenre in brick films of like Sherlock Holmes stories. I feel like that's something that comes up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like I know James Moore has done it a bunch. I think Penta, like your Brawl film, had that going on in it a bit.
It did have a bit of a murder mystery theme.
Someone just put together a playlist of all like the Sherlock Holmes people with magnifying glasses videos.
That would be actually quite funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
I do agree that the set design and the lighting of this is a bit, it's not like everything we see today.
Yeah.
Or like everything we saw yesterday.
It's very much that like lo-fi, like old school kind of simplistic kind of set stuff.
Yeah.
Which I really like. It's really charming.
Yeah, it is charming. It gives off that impression that you just, got your big pile of bricks and just picked them and started building.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that one of the mod elements was the letter K this year. I'm not sure. Maybe that's just a wild guess.
That was the year when orange was one of the mod colors.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, which is annoying. Also, it was orange and red, and it all looks red, like when they're connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But
I want to do one of these films where like I just put a random letter in every shot, but it's not the mod letter. It's just a random letter.
That would be good.
Somebody will accuse you of cheating, trying to guess the mod.
Do you know?
I've got a 1 out of 26 chance of getting it
Do you know
right.
one thing I always thought you could do? You could make a brick film set in a classroom, and you've got the alphabet on the walls.
No, stop. Stop. You've broken the code. Take him away. He knows too much.
But yeah. So Penta, what's your pick?
Oh yeah, as soon as the idea came up to pick previous Brawl films, I knew what my pick would be instantly, and it's Zombie Attack 2 by Darkman and Jimmybob, which is one of my favourite Brick films ever.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what is your what do you find charming about it?
It's just so insane, and you know, it's just so much like they're just having fun doing whatever the hell they think of first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's every
really
time I
like,
watch it, I just have a smile on my face.
It's really like punk Brick films. These last couple of ones, like they're just like they're just crazy.
I think it's kind of it felt like a more like hyper violent version of Blambo Part 2. That kind of like over the top, you know, like action kind of stuff, and it's clearly just like they're having so much fun making it, you know.
This one had some swear words in it.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, it's worth mentioning that it's not gonna be for everyone.
Yeah, it's a bit like, you know, you got like Coffee and Carnage. That was me a couple of weeks ago. So this is another one of those.
Yeah. I think they actually melted a Lego figure for one of these shots.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier.
That's sort of like a lot of 90s Brick films just set Lego on fire just because they were just doing whatever first thought came to their head, like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we just light it on fire? And this film has that spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go through the same stage with live action too. Like, why don't we just light the lead actors on fire? It's really funny.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how like there's this like again almost like a subgenre of Brick films where it's just like let's just like really be brutal to these minifigures. Yeah, and
they
don't have any basic human rights. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Another good thing about this film is its use of music.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Especially the final scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice music.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Again, kind of reminded me of like Coffee and Carnage, how, you know, they're using that kind of classic rock music.
Existing music, yeah.
I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think this is coming up a lot recently.
Yeah.
You know, complimenting films using existing songs.
Yeah. Well, I guess like the most recent big example of that is The Cleaners. I was thinking of that when I was watching this. Like, it was very similar kind of music that was used in that very sort of like Quentin Tarantino inspired kind of music choice.
Yeah, and used very well. And of course, we were talking about that with Zach recently about The Cleaners. And yeah, it just seems to be like people are realizing that there's actually artistic merit to using songs that already exist.
Yeah, well, like we were saying earlier, like none of us are going to be making money with any of this stuff, so who cares?
Yeah, that helps big time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You might as well, you know, it's more creative, you know, using like pre-existing songs than like, you know, Kevin MacLeod.
Yeah, I can spot a Incompetech song a mile away now.
Yeah. There's that one that's yeah, I was trolling them on Discord the other day, and just like showing the most used you know, Kevin MacLeod songs. And one of them's that Merry Go, you know.
I was just thinking of that song. How did you know?
You know, I think that Incompetech has been used in Brick films for so long that there's actually a generation of people now who don't even know any other way, and they're too young to really have a wide like appreciation for music, so they wouldn't even know where to start looking if they wanted to source music for their films that wasn't Incompetech.
Yeah.
So YouTube has a royalty-free music library that you can use now. And about a third of it is Incompetech stuff.
That's going to help, I'm sure.
Well, it's kind of funny because, like, you know, I try and in the past, I've really tried to find lesser known royalty-free stuff, like, because if you like go through, you Google it and you just like go through loads of pages down, you find other stuff which is actually a lot better. But it gets to that point where, you know, people notice I use like these lesser known royalty-free music and go, oh, where can you find that? And I tell them, and then more people know about that, so it gets harder and harder to find, you know, ones that aren't being used. So I'm kind of feeling like I might want to just kind of stop using royalty-free music like entirely and just get people to compose stuff and use pre-existing things. I think that might be like the future for me, I think, really. Because, I'm kind of getting fed up of trying to find stuff which hasn't been used 1,000 times, you know.
It's really difficult to find royalty-free music that doesn't sound like royalty-free music, especially.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when I'm going through Incompetech stuff, like a lot of it I just write off immediately because it just sounds dodgy. Like, especially once you start getting stuff like like brass instruments involved and woodwinds and stuff, like it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, and you know, I have this really weird thing. There doesn't seem to be many like good royalty-free music when it comes to action. It always seems to be kind of like suspense, like, you know, building up to an action scene, or they're like ridiculously short. So it makes it really difficult to find an action sequence song, piece of music which goes with like, you know.
I mean, if you're willing to drop a bit of money, like there's probably a lot of options. Like I've used Film Riot's music pack for stuff in the past.
Oh yeah.
I think Filmstro is a thing that's going around at the moment. But yeah, like then you know you're talking about spending money on things,
and you're not going to make any money back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, each song can be like 20 odd, can't it? You know. So yeah.
Oh yeah. They can add up.
Yeah, I want to use this song for like 5 seconds, and it's it's gonna cost me £19, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So So what was your pick, Forlorn?
So my pick was it was a Brawl 2013 entry called Lookout by TwickABrick, and yeah, I mean, I mainly watched this one just because it was a TwickABrick video. I only recently sort of discovered TwickABrick. I mean, I'd seen their films before, but like, I mean, I'd only started like really like noticing like how good they are recently, especially after Brawl. And like this one, I can understand why it probably didn't win because the story's not necessarily so completely developed. But I think stylistically, it really is something special.
Yeah.
In terms of Brickfilm. Yeah,
I think it's just again, like pretty much anything that's done by like TwickABrick, it's just the animation is just absolutely fantastic. I think he's probably my favorite. Yeah, I think they're probably like my favorite animators, like Brickfilm, maybe one of them anyway, because just how like smoothly and just like everything just looks so fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
It's just really just incredible.
But what sticks out to me the most about this film is, especially recently, I've been thinking a lot about how I prefer everything in Brickfilm. Well, no, not every time, but a lot of times I prefer in Brickfilms when as much stuff is done in Lego as possible. And recently I was just thinking to myself, if you wanted to push that to its fullest extent, you'd have to have your sky backdrop be built in Lego as well.
And that's exactly what they do here.
This has got to be one of the very, very, very few examples of a Brickfilm that actually builds the sky out of Lego. So that really impresses me.
And it's not just like a base plate turned on its side or anything. It's like they actually built a wall that covers up the sky. But yeah, no, this one actually I think is really interesting, even from like a filmmaking perspective, because it's like there's very obviously like not a whole ship there, but like we understand like what it's trying to say, because I think the main characters, their ship, it's just the lookout post, and then there's like a shot of the characters on the deck, and like that's their whole ship. Like I think it's really interesting the use of like minimalism in this animation to tell a complete or a bigger story.
Yeah, and of course the one time when you do see a full ship, it's micro scale.
Yeah.
Well, that's always something I like, how, you know, with like especially TwickABrick stuff. They're very good at like showing these sort of shots where it's clearly they haven't like built, like in this case, they haven't built an entire ship, but you completely kind of forget that whole thing. You're completely kind of like invested in what's going on that you forget it's not like a complete ship. And it's very
Yeah.
it's very well done in that kind of respect, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think TwickABrick is very talented at cinematic storytelling. I think their Brawl entry definitely illustrated that for me.
Yeah.
But this is really cool, like what they've done with this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, again, it's in the same case, like actually with Sonjira and TwickABrick, I really hope that they make the top 3 because,
Yeah, I agree.
they're just like again making fantastic entries, just like every year, yeah. But yeah, just a TwickABrick is just they remained really consistent in the amount of brick films they make, through the years, and they've consistently made like top 10 and that kind of stuff, and yeah, all the best to them. I really. Yeah, good luck to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've made top 10 every Brawl since 2011, and I don't think the streak will die here.
No.
Have they won one yet?
They've won 2 of them, first place.
The quiz,
and they've
sort of.
come
Yeah, okay.
within the top 3 of a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I agree that it makes sense that Lookout didn't place in the top 3, even though it's really well made, obviously. But I think just because of the nature of Brawl, people have more time to make more fleshed out films with multiple sets and scenes. And the judges are going to have to gravitate towards the films where you just say, well, undeniably, there's just more going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I said, like this one, it's really only like 1:20, and I think it's maybe it's an excellent setup to a film, but I think as a film itself, it doesn't quite feel complete as it like the story doesn't quite come full circle in there. It's sort of like it's the beginning of a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which can work on its own, but I think in this case, like you said, the judges are probably going to gravitate more towards more complete stories rather than sort of like the first third of one.
I guess though, when you look at it though, like how, you talk about the sky and stuff, it must have taken a really long time to actually have built the sets. So I imagine that a lot of that time is probably put into that. So I guess they were going for polished over length, like that kind of
It's
stuff.
kind of like a tack film, except it's too well made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more big scope wise than you could do in a THAC film, I reckon. The animation is just very polished here.
It is, yeah. The animation is great.
I'd say it's actually a really good example of how even the simplest things where hardly anything happens can be amazing, just because of the way you animate it, the way you shoot it, and the thought you put into the set design, all that kind of stuff. It ends up being really good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's just good. It's good demonstration of cinematic language, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even though it is well made, and I'm sure they spent a lot of time on the sets, I would still assume that they had less time to work with that year than other years.
Yeah, it would definitely seem a bit like that way, just because of the nature of the story, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And in other years, they've made some of the longer films, very fleshed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there, before we actually kind of wrap this up, is there anything that you guys like to say?
Don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. Rate this 5 stars. Do you remember that? That used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Comment on my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on YouTube.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like... Well, I suppose we'll talk about the Brawl results next time when we actually know them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I guess my plan is to kind of... We'll talk to whoever wins, and then we'll, instead of the usual showcase, we're going to talk about the 10 entries that made it to top 10. So that's going to be fun. Yeah.
So are they placing the top 10?
Yeah. Well, they will be.
They'll reveal the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
But again, we already mentioned that the quality is super high this year. I imagine that not everyone's going to be happy. In any case, it really doesn't matter how the results turn out, but some people will not be happy, but that's just the way it goes when there's too many good films, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. We're for us 3, we all said different entries. So, it's bound to be like that. You're going to... There's going to be one entry that...
But none of us picked our own entries.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's like... Yeah, it's a case of there's going to be one entry, I imagine, at least one entry. within the top 10 that you think that should make it, and it probably won't. And that's just the nature of these kind of things. You know, you've got so many good films to work, you know, to put in 10. You know, as I said before, I was trying to make my own top 10 to see if I could, and I just found it too hard because I got to like the 11th and I was like, oh, this is too good.
Just watch like the first 10 and it's like, okay, that's my top 10. I don't need to watch anymore.
Yeah. Right, yeah, so thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you, it was a pleasure.
Yeah. So where can they find you?
So I guess I've got a YouTube channel which is Forlorn Creature. Forlorn is in like lonely. I don't know, what does forlorn mean again? Is like lonely by yourself, or sort of like melancholy, I guess.
Yeah.
Forlorn Creature. It's my YouTube channel, it's my Twitter handle. That's about all I use on the internet these days. So yeah, or I'm on the Bricks in Motion Discord a lot, so you can catch me there too.
Yeah. Bye guys. Thank you so much for tuning in again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.